Holy moly. I'll be right with you. I thought I had my tunes together, but I don't. Here we go. I blew it. Well, I just sight read that that chart. You know, I decided right before I went live, I was like, let me just sight read this little shuffle chart, and I didn't do a very good job at it. But I will say that it's the first time I played it. It's a catchy little tune, and I played it because I was chatting with Stan earlier, and this book, Groove Alchemy, is like ridiculous. This is like a Bible of groove. You must have this in your library. And that last track there, I was like, oh, there's a shuffle in here. I'm just gonna throw it down and just see what. I never heard it before, so it was fun. I didn't play it really well, but I think another run through I do. Let me start over. Wait, let's see. No, that would be silly. I'm not gonna start it over. So, Jim Toscano here. Welcome to Filling in the Grooves, my next edition, my ninth edition, and so the ninth episode rather of the live stream. So I've been doing this every Monday night for a couple of months, trying to just kind of, offer something free beyond the lessons thing, where I just kind of go through some of my lesson plans and some of the things that I'm working on and that I'm learning or that I'm teaching. And the Shuffle Evolution is, sort of my take on breaking down some of the mechanics of some of the grooves, the important grooves, and also some of the little things that I play in my playing and that I enjoy. I will say again that the book Groove Alchemy has like an entire gigantic shuffle chapter in it, which is awesome, and Stanton breaks it down really well from like some of the really early sort of bass drum and snare drum marchy kind of things, that kind of stuff, into the beginnings of the shuffle rhythm, and then kind of how it evolved into, even heavy metal shuffles. So it's a really cool book, and along with that one, as I mentioned last week, Daniel Glass's book, which I brought it upstairs because I was actually reading some of the content in it. So I don't have it here right at the moment, but what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of pick up where we left off last week. Oh, before I kick into that, so, this is like just come hang with Jim and spend some time with Jim. So, this is sort of, you're up in my house kind of here. And I will say hello to anybody that's typing into the chat. I saw a couple little things in there, but, this is kind of like our little hang time in a way. And I just want to say, we're going through like a crazy time right now in the world. And, we're kind of all in this together. Like every musician I know is probably really not working unless you're inventing something from home and doing something, in your house where you're reinventing yourself kind of. And so a lot of people are live streaming. A lot of people are teaching lessons online, which I do, and I kind of coach the kind of how to put that together, just because I've been doing it for a long time. So I have kind of a good take on sort of how to put the technology together. But also, for anybody who's a musician that's stuck at home, that, has even a day gig, and this is a time where you can kind of get creative, and people are working from home. You can, take this time to work on what you're passionate about, whatever that may be. Maybe you like sculpting, Winnie the Pooh sculptures or something, or, maybe you play the bass, or, whatever. You're taking up a new instrument, you're playing the bassoon. So, take this time to be creative, and make sure you're connecting with people. Like, this is one way I can connect with students and with friends, is through this the live streaming thing. So I appreciate it if anybody who's in there, and definitely sending good vibes to your family and your friends. I hope that everybody's safe. This is kind of a, like I said, it's kind of an unprecedented time. This has never happened in our history. So it's pretty insane. So on that note, let's do some music stuff. And I think if I did it correctly, I'm going to pull up a split screen of myself, which really doesn't help you. I'm going to find my PDF file. Let me go back to the live shot. So I'm going to basically put a PDF of what I'm going to teach tonight over here. If I can find the darn thing. It has escaped me. Oh no, where could it be? Oh, I got it now. All right, so I'm going to pull up this PDF and kind of go through. I'm just going to review real quick about kind of what we did last time. And let's see, I think I've got this working now. I'm going to stick this over there. And let's go to split screen. And it's right underneath. I apologize. You're seeing my console. No, you're still not seeing it, are you? Okay, now I think you are. Oh, yeah. That's tricky. I almost have to, I have to cover up this side. Oh. Now we're getting it. I'm getting this together. I apologize. I'm working this, by the way, you know, I'll just say that I usually have somebody working, or I had somebody working with me for a time. I think you're going to see it now. The split screen with the, yes. So, you know, I had somebody working with me for a while, Billy Gonzalez, who's not here. I wish I could put up, you know, a little picture of him right now, but I don't have that available at the moment. So, you know, kind of all the camera switching and the technology that goes behind this, it's kind of, I'm from behind a drum set trying to use a mouse and a keyboard and do all this stuff. So you have to bear with me a little bit. I apologize. I'll get better at it as we go. So this shot that you're seeing, yes, good, is the Shuffle Evolution PDF, which, you know, we started kind of going through the basic triplet pattern last week, and I think we got up to where we were starting to put in some of the ghosting patterns and some of the ghost notes. So in about, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so, I'm going to say hello to some people that I see people in the chat. But I'm going to dig into the lesson right now because, as we know, this goes by very quickly. I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode because last week my band was blowing up my phone and I was getting interrupted, and I tried to solve that. And it didn't go too well, but Vincent LaRussa came to the rescue with that. By the way, this is that chart up to here that I poorly sight read. I did have fun, though. I had fun playing it. I also, the level in my headset was pretty low, so I couldn't really hear the track. So listen, you know, I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. All right, so we were talking about kind of breaking down the basic shuffle pattern, and we talked about getting the quarter note ride pattern to feel really present and really important in the groove. And sort of, you know, we were playing just basic time, you know, trying to feather the bass drum as lightly as possible, letting the hi-hat be the 2 and 4, letting that be the backbeat, right? And I'm feathering a 24-inch bass drum, so that's mic'd. So it might not be the greatest representation of feathering. And then we started to work on the first and third partial of the triplet and getting that basic shuffle feel. 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4, lit 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4. And then putting that over our basic 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4, lit 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4, lit 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4. And we were doing the 4 on the floor. You know, shuffles can be in 2 and they can be in 4. And I'm also going to talk about a push shuffle, or people have a lot of different names for this particular shuffle, but oh man, Stanton had another way that he called it. Jim Riley calls it a push shuffle, not a shovel. And you know, so we'll talk about that shuffle too, where the bass drum pattern changes. Yeah, I'll give the 3. So we had 4 on the floor, which if the bass player was walking, right, we'd be doing this. Then we could play that in 2, where the bass player is basically playing on 1 and 3. Dum, 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 right? So we could be going dum, dum, dum. So like you hear that in a lot of country shuffles, right? Like if we were playing sort of like a that would be an example of a shuffle in 2, right? And then there's the push shuffle, which I use this in the band Giant Flying Turtles that I play with, we have a tune called Stay Up Late where we play this kind of feel. Right? So that's got that really nice feel. I love that feel. Sting had a really famous tune with that kind of feel on his first solo record, I believe. I can't think of the name of the tune right now. Omar Hakim, I think, played on that. But so and the one that I use in the Giant Flying Turtles tune, like in the verses, I play sort of a ghosting pattern under that. I think I'm playing, and we'll get into what this ghosting pattern is in a moment. And sometimes yeah, no, just the basic that pattern. I was trying to think if I was doing something different in the tune, but no. So that kind of pattern. And then in the choruses, it just goes to the ride. Right? So that's a different feel, too, under the shuffle category. So we started to kind of talk about, well, one thing is the shuffle movement that I'm using for that stuff. So we're dividing the strokes into downstrokes and upstrokes. 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4, lit 1, lit 2. So that could be like a low molar stroke where my upstroke is basically this position and my downstroke is this position. So if we're playing quicker tempos, makes it easier to play that by dividing the strokes into upstrokes and downstrokes. And you could also use a thumb up method, and I'm using sort of a push-pull with the fingers. You can see it's kind of open, snap, open. It basically bounces over the fulcrum right here, and then we catch it. So sometimes I like that. Thumb up, or this way. Depending on the tempo and the feel and maybe the style of it. Most of the time when I'm over on the ride, I'm playing thumb up. I love this ride cymbal. I know I talk about this every time. Every time I'm hitting it and I'm in my headphones, the stick definition that I get with this, I just love it. It's a 22-inch King ride from Sabian, big and ugly. Anyway, okay. So yeah, so most of the time it's going to be thumb up over here. Rarely will I do this, just because I wind up pushing my shoulder up, and I don't like having the shoulder up. I like my shoulder up and my elbow at my side and my shoulder down. So if I bring it up this way, now my shoulder's in the air, and it's kind of uncomfortable. And for my setup, because I'm using 3 toms, it kind of shoves everything over. If my ride cymbal was here, yeah, that would be okay. Playing palm down instead of thumb up. Okay, so, and you'll see in my little PDF file here, we have that movement, upstrokes and downstrokes. And then when we put the backbeat in, you'll see I have like a little circle thing, and I have a bent arrow for the upstroke. So just dropping in the next beat. So if you're playing like a strong backbeat, like a rock shuffle, know, you'd have that full range to play that backbeat there. And we're kind of playing in unison on the downstroke, right? So that happens together. All right, and then I said a backbeat expanded where you kind of play a ghost note on the way up. So I'm not hitting a rim shot for that, but I'm hitting harder on the 2 and then lighter on the lit coming up. 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4, lit 1, lit 2, lit 3, lit 4, lit 1. Right, so on something like this, so that's a nice little treatment of that. Yeah, I'm playing that bass drum way too loud. It should really be down here. Right? And we talked about the Texas style shuffle a little bit last week, playing the quarter notes. And so we were playing the shuffle in the snare hand. So quarter notes over here, the full shuffle in this hand. Okay, so quarter notes in the ride hand. Then we talked about playing Chicago style shuffle with the double, like a double hand shuffle, right? And then we talked about that little embellishment that I play, that sneaky triplet idea. So that goes like this. Where I discovered my limit on tempo last week with that I can't play it all that fast. Right, so that's a nice little embellishment. I really enjoy playing that. I think it sounds good. I think it feels good. I call it the sneaky triplet. I'm sure it's been done all throughout history. And I kind of started doing it when I was playing a lot of blues with a female singer artist named Nikki Armstrong, who now lives in L.A. But we were playing pretty regularly at the B.B. King's Lucille's room, like every month, and I was playing some blues festivals with her and stuff. And so I got into, you know, some different styles of shuffles that that I sort of started to explore and get that together. So let's look at this, the upstroke or the let shuffle. I call it the let shuffle, and this is playing all of the lets. 1, let 2, let 3, let 4, let 1, let 2, let 3, let 4, let 1, let 2. Jim Riley's book has a whole bunch of shuffle tracks too, and he's got some shuffles that feel good with that particular thing, which can work in a country shuffle also, but in some traditional sort of blues shuffles, that feels great against a bass line that's going maybe dum 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 dum. So I like that push. You know, it kind of feels like it's pushing things along. It's kind of it gives it a little more momentum, a little more push, I think. Like, listen, if we were doing this, it starts to have a different kind of movement every time I switch in and out of that. Okay, so So those are a few of the variations, and as I said before, that sort of push shuffle, or the man, what was Stanton's name for that thing? So I play that in sort of a rock blues context with that band. So we kind of play it a little bit heavier. But that could be nice and light, like more mysterioso. That's in that Sting tune for sure, right? That's such a great little shuffle. And then there's also kind of in the older shuffles, I didn't really get into this last time, but, riding on the snare kind of shuffles. And I do a lot of those between Roger's band and Giant Flying Turtles, and playing blues, and, playing with Nicky in the past, and Jason Green Trio, and sort of a lot of this kind of stuff, like... So on that, like, I will often, instead of playing the whole shuffle, I'll break it up and kind of almost break it into like a swung train beat. And those are really nice. And then the other version of that, and also you could... Right, you could ride on the rim, riding on the snare, like kind of out here. And then the other thing you could do is sort of what I just said before about a swung train beat. If you have the right tempo. And now you're getting towards rockabilly kind of shuffles. Sort of like... And those are kind of like train beats in a way. Like, watch, I'll morph, I'll play straight. Right, so those variations of shuffle feels are really important to have those in your toolbox, because you just never know when you're going to get asked to play that stuff. And I get asked to play it all the time. If you check out, well, they're coming out one at a time, the tracks, but Roger and Friedman's new record, I'm doing tons of that stuff on that record. A lot of brushes, but a lot of sort of train beats and swingy train beats. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the specific tunes. And Giant Flying Turtles too. We have a whole boatload of that stuff. So one other thing with these different patterns is the early stuff. There's not a lot of ghost notes. There's a little bit, but it didn't get as tricky as when the shuffle started to get modernized. And there's some older tunes that you start to hear hints of that in. And then, of course, all the famous ones like the Purdy Shuffle and, Steely Dan was kind of pioneering a lot of those slow shuffle tunes. And, of course, we'll get into later on Rosanna. And then there's some other tunes that I equate with shuffles that are more of a triplet feel, but they still fit in that shuffle bag. Because if you think about it, it's all based on triplet type rhythms. Like even, I can kind of, I would say that if you were playing... maybe I'll do a track. I found a track that has this kind of stuff in it. But if you're playing sort of like a Naningo, like Afro-Cuban kind of feels, they're kind of interchangeable with shuffle feels in a way. So like if you were playing sort of a 6/8. right? You could, so maybe like one. They kind of fit, and it's interesting if you take certain tunes. I found that I could go in and out of that sort of Afro bell pattern and back into shuffles, and vice versa, just because that whole triplet feel is kind of, um, kind of has this relationship. Of course, I was trying to say that you can morph one into the other. So, and I will often do that kind of stuff. So, that's something to mess around with. And also this kind of thing, like if you're playing, like I'll play a 4 on the floor shuffle and then just break it into triplets. Sorry. Right, so that's kind of interchangeable going in and out of those sort of triplet feels and into the shuffle. And we could even right, so it's kind of interesting how, all this stuff kind of fits together. And I kind of like blending all those different things. So, in modernizing the shuffle, I kind of feel like all those influences start to creep in. There's this one triplet thingy that I was just doing. I played on this recording a long time ago with my buddies with 10 Ton Tide. It was Power Windows was the band, and then we had a original band called 10 Ton Tide that spawned out of that with Zach Risby and Dan Gibson, and Joe and Tony. We had this. The Power Windows band became also an original band, and then later on after I left that, Joe Bergamini became the drummer for Power Windows and really took it a lot further than I did. That's for sure. But there's a tune that we did where I was playing sort of this. And then in the choruses, I went to this thing. Right, so sort of broke it out of that shuffle into this linear triplet pattern. So it's all, I feel like it's all related. It's all kind of interchangeable at times, depending on the style. You're not going to do that in a traditional blues tune. You get thrown out of the band very quickly. You lose the gig. You get fired. There's no gigs right now. We're all in our houses. But you know what I'm saying. All right. So now we're going to talk about, some of this ghosting stuff in the idea of modernizing the shuffle. And I call it the first ghost note because that's kind of where it happens, right? The second partial, we talked about this last week, and playing that very quietly so that we have a constant triplet feel, right? So we have the pumping motion of the triplet, and then we're going to fill in the second partial and we want that to be really even. And you could kind of, we'll talk about the heel coming in with Bernard Purdy, what he did to it, in a minute. So you really want that constant triplet. It's like I always say, when you're playing grooves, be the shaker. So this would be the shekere, kind of the triplet shaker. You want that happening throughout your shuffles, because it's going to fill in the time and kind of and fill it out and give it that kind of shaker sound, I think. So that's the first ghost note. So if you work on that little practice segment, it's just getting that to be super even and messing with that. And by the way, what I was just starting to mention is if you start kind of playing eighth notes with your foot and you kind of pulse the heel, you bounce on your heel, you suck in a little bit of air, right? But you don't get a full this. You don't want this. But if you do it with your heel, you'll hear like I'm not going to have it yet. Just by playing quarter notes with that foot. Let me see. Do I have my switcher? Where did I put the darn switcher, baby? Where's the switcher at? Oh, the switcher's hiding over here. You're going to see my switcher for a minute, I believe. I'm going to move it over here for a minute. So, like, if you could see, I'm just playing sort of a little... So that little bit of air that you get in there gives it that sort of purdy sound. As we start to get deeper into the grooves, we'll explore that a little bit more. I was just mentioning it because I like to keep my foot active while I'm playing. And you have to be careful, because if you have too much movement, you could start to pull the air in before you really want it there. Now, that's the first ghost note. Now, the second position, if we were to explore playing the backbeat, so what we could do is this. Let's play just one of those ghost notes and a backbeat. So it's just 2 beats. I'll go back to the side cam. So I'm doing up, down, up, down, up, down, down. Right? And if I was going to play a heavier version of that, I could get a rim shot in there. But I'm not going to play that loud right now, but so we have the first ghost note and the backbeat. Now we don't want those ghost notes to go away, so when I hit that backbeat without it, we kind of have that hole now back in our time, right? Dig it, get, So what we want to do is we want to bounce that backbeat and get our second note by letting it have like a resulting bounce, right? So we get a so it's a down tap. So now we have tap, down tap, 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 tap, down tap. Right? And if, or match grip. I'm just letting the stick kind of bounce on that. So what's going on in there is 4 ghost notes in the whole bar. But if you don't snap that and come right down, you're going to get da-da, and we don't want that. We want da-da, da-da. That second note to be just as loud as it was in the first position or in the third position of the bar. Right? So that's the next thing that we're adding. And now what we could do with that is, you know what, I'm just going to add in one bass drum note with that. So So, you know, you have to start timing the bass drum notes one at a time. So I would say you start working on 1, then start working on 1 and 3. And then you could start working on all 4 beats. And so if that was like a pop rock tune, that would be a great little groove, because I'm playing that bass drum pretty heavily. If I was going to play that in a blues setting and I wanted all those ghost notes, maybe it was a little more modernized. Just lightened up the bass drum a little bit. Now, one thing we can do after we're practicing this is now just move the backbeat to the 3rd beat only. So now we have 3 of those. We have all 4 of the ghost notes, but we're going to play 1 backbeat in the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I'm hitting on that 3 triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 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 1. And I would say before you start exploring all the bass drum patterns that you can, if this ghosting pattern is new to you, or if it's not feeling settled, or it feels a little, you know, if you're troubleshooting it still, if it's kind of bumpy, you know, just practice it. Slow it down a lot if you have to. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. You know, and go back to the drawing board if the backbeats aren't working. Go back to just getting this down. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, and work that at different tempos. All right, so then we move to the backbeat in the middle of the bar, which is the halftime shuffle. And if we just put in 1 bass drum with that one, we get this. So right, so we want to work on getting that to sit really cleanly, getting just the 1 and the 3 of that. And you should be able to, you know, get it to the point where just that ghosting pattern, and you can interchange going between right? So that's the goal of this week's thing, is just to start getting those notes to sit really cleanly. If this gives you any trouble, I've heard people say that they get stick clicks happening and stuff. You notice that I play across my chest. My hand is very close to my arm is very close to my body. You can also go up into French grip. But because the ghost notes are so quiet, and I give myself that room as I play the backbeat to come down. Watch. I'm just used to kind of, you know, dancing around the hi-hat to make that work. If you're having trouble with it, I would say open up to the ride cymbal until the ghost notes are really clean and low, and then go back to the hi-hat working on it. The other thing I'm going to mention is the backbeat motion. You can work on that and isolate it. Anybody know what rudiment that is? There's a rudiment hidden in there.
Which rudiment is it? You'll win a prize.
What rudiment is that? Come on, what is it? Swiss Army triplets. You are correct, sir. So you can even work that. somewhere in history, people were using that as a shuffle. There are some tunes. I have to find out what tunes. I can't quote one right now, but it's kind of a cool little thing. But what's nice about having command over that da 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 is that if you wanted to put in more than one, like if you were playing um, like in Fool in the Rain, he does that. Got. Well, he doesn't do the double strokes on it, but you get the idea. So I kind of like that. That double hit is great, and that I call that a slap back for the backbeat. Other people have different names for that, but getting that loud soft, right? So now you have these things to work on for next time, which is the single ghost note, the single ghost note plus backbeat, or 2 and 4, and then getting more than one of those backbeats. Right? And that kind of will get things rolling for this like next week. The other thing I'm just going to mention real quickly, and we'll get into next time, is you can do that push shuffle with this same idea. I was going to say one other thing, but I'm not following the sheet right now. But you could do this, which is what I was playing earlier from my band's tune. Right, so it has that nice same effect by playing all the ghost notes and saving that slap back for the very last beat on the 4 only. Okay, so those are kind of some of the mechanics. And, we'll try to make those grooves over the next week. I'm going to do a part 3, and we'll kind of explore how those ghost notes start getting used in some of the famous grooves. But you got to do all the little muscle memory exercises first. And then, and I will at some point talk about the shuffle page in my book where all the fills are. So we'll do some fills that fit really well with these shuffles and filling in the grooves. And a nice combination is get filling in the grooves and groove alchemy, and you got your groove Bible and you got your fill Bible, and these two books together are really fun. Yes. Okay. Shameless plug. I know. And actually we'll probably talk about some brush shuffles. I'm just going to pull the chat window over real quick because I realized that, of course, not that it matters, but we went way over time compared to what I wanted to be doing. Now, if I put this over here, let me see something. You're going to see my windows go a little bit bananas for a second. And let's see. We can pull this up, and then I can see the chat window. No, that's not going to work. I don't know how I'm going to do this. 1 second. I'll shrink this window. I want to see the chat window. 1 second. I know. This is, this is hard. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. What am I talking about? Let me just go into OBS for a second. And I'll just put on the live scene. Transition to that. There we go. And now I can actually read the chat, and you don't have to read the chat. Okay. This is taking me a minute to figure this out. Okay, so what do we got in here tonight? Vincent LaRussa! The intro played much better. Yes, I fixed the intro. So something that I learned for anybody that's getting into live streaming, um, I'm seeing a lot of funny things in there. Anybody that's getting into live streaming, you need, if you're going to play video clips, you have to turn them into WebM files, which is played by VLC Player, but OBS, if you're doing live streaming and you're using OBS, you need to change the files into WebM files. So just so you know, if anybody's getting into live streaming, you definitely have to do that. It will help a lot. Okay, so hopefully that played better, and hopefully my outro will play well. I'm going to put on my goggles because I can't see otherwise. Vincent LaRussa in the house. Airplane mode. I did it. Thank you. Rocco Deserto. Hello, Jim. What's up, Rocco? I see my mom is in here. Hi, Mom. Patrick Ross. Hi, Jim. Nice opening drum chart. You should take another go at it. Oh yeah, yeah. I never played it before, but next week maybe I'll play it again for you guys, or I'll just shed on it. But I think if I had a second crack at it, I'd probably do a much better job. I really didn't know the tune, so I like putting myself on the spot and seeing what I can do in the moment. It's just, hey, why not? You got to take a chance, right? So Arkham General Billy's in the house. Lucia, hey Lucia, thanks for coming in, Lucia. She's a great little drummer, and let me tell you something. Lucia is this kid's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. She plays piano, drums, bass, guitar. I think she plays ukulele too. But she's a talented little musician. I shouldn't say little. She's not so little anymore. She's a talented musician. She's a big sister now, so you can't call her little anymore. And but she's going to be definitely something to watch out for in the music world. So just saying. Jonathan Schneider. What did he say? Charleston rhythm. Patrick Ross. Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yes, exactly. The Let Shuffle, man. I love the Let Shuffle. It's definitely one of my favorite shuffles. And in fact, you can use that Let Shuffle in probably any genre where you just want to get that little push. 100% love it. John Schneider, Swiss Army triplet. Yes, you got the triplet thing, right? Because we were talking about this. Right? Which, by the way, if you're playing that kind of feel, you can easily go into fills that have that same, right? Very easy to pull that right off from the groove into the fills. Nico the Filmmaker's here. Check out this kid's YouTube channel. Very, very freaking cool. He's making these crazy movies. I want to see a new one soon, Nico. Where's the new movie? Do it. Italian foods. Rocco says spaghetti. I love all of those things. I didn't have that tonight. I did have salmon tonight. The other, what was it? Last night, my friend Bobby Angeletta was trying to say, what should I have tonight? I think he said, stuffed shells of lasagna. I was like, hey. Okay, enough of that. I have both books, thank you very much. Patrick Ross, this guy's great. He is a drummer's drummer. He's got this crazy snare drum collection, which I will tell you, it kind of doesn't really go that hard up against Vincent's snare drum collection. I think Vincent's up to like, how many you got in there, Vincent? 70? However, all of your choices, Pat, are awesome. You got some nice stuff in your collection. So kudos to Pat on his snare drum collection and his drum room and his drumming abilities, and also his fandom of everything drumming. He's just a drummer's drummer. He's got all the drum stuff happening in his house. It's amazing. I'm making a lot of progress on my new videos. Very good. Jonathan Schneider said, I'm walking here. Steve C. Yeah. So 65-ish. I'm not sure. Oh, 65-ish on the snare drum. So Vincent has about 65 snare drums. What do you got in there, Pat? How many snare drums you got in there? Listen, it's not the amount of snare drums, it's the quality of the snare drums, right? Look at Dave Clive. He's got the Dave Clive museum. He's got like all quality stuff in his museum. He's got some snare drums that there's only maybe one or two in the world. Crazy. Okay, so I'm basically going to start wrapping things up in a minute. I'm going to be live streaming on Thursday the hand technique stuff. I understand that two things. One, we need the volume louder on the pad. So maybe I will use a louder pad, or I'll just get a different mic on here to pick up more of that. And also that the tempo is a little bit quick to begin with. So we're going to slow some of those tempos down, go through a lot of the hand technique stuff. That last, the last combo that I did was the Swiss Army Flam Tack combo thing. That's super fun. I'd love to see some videos of people playing it on the drum set. That would be amazing. I am thinking of contests, so maybe we'll do some kind of giveaway for the best drum video of something from the hand technique workshop being applied to the drum set. Or the bass. No, the drum set. Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping this up. I know it's late. Nobody probably has to get up too early in the morning. Well, I guess kids, right? You guys are getting up like still early for online schooling. Trying to get your stuff done early so that you can go and have the day free. I know Lucia said she's getting up at like 6 or 6:30 in the morning, doing all of her schoolwork so she could practice drums for the rest of the day. Go, Lucia! What'd you say, Vincent? Use a condenser mic on the pad. That's a good idea. So the dynamic mic probably doesn't pick up enough, and go to a condenser mic. I have a Shure Beta 98 that would probably do the trick. Yes, indeed, that would do the trick. I loves it. Right, so next week we'll do Shuffle Evolution Part 3, and I'll do better on the play-along. I probably won't sight read something. Maybe I'll actually prepare something. Hey, listen, man, I don't have any regrets. It was fun. I couldn't hear the tune that well, but it was fun. All right, so I'll see you guys all on the next live stream. Make sure you're looking, for stuff during the week, because I probably will go live once in a while with just a off, topic in the middle of the day. I know I did drum tuning last week. I hope that was helpful to somebody, removing all the heads, changing them, and tuning my drum set. I had to do maintenance on my drums, so I was like, why not live stream it, right? Let people see that. And maybe we'll do a coffee tasting show. No? Okay. Lucia, I missed the baked goods. Tell your mom. All right. I'm going to wrap it up now, but it was really fun hanging with you guys, talking with you guys. I am going to roll the credits now, and I'm in the wrong live scene. Let's see what we got here. Yes, and I'll see you guys on the next one, okay? Really, really happy to see everybody here tonight. Super fun, and I will see you on the next live stream Thursday night. Everybody be safe, be happy, be healthy, be productive, practice. All right, see you on the next live.